Several years ago, my uncle invited me and my cousin Mark to come down and run in the Falmouth Road Race with him. The Falmouth Road Race is a 7.2-mile fun run that they hold on Cape Cod every August. My uncle lived there, and my cousin Mark was a really serious runner. I was not a serious runner, so I said, thanks, but no thanks, and they went ahead with their plans. Then, at the last minute, my cousin Mark had to bail out, and my uncle was going to have to run by himself, so I said, sure, I'll take Mark's spot. I said that, even though being from Western Massachusetts, I'm opposed to Cape Cod on principle. Also, I hadn't trained for this event, but this was right about the end of that period of my life when I thought I could do things like that. So my wife and I drove down on a Saturday and met my aunt and uncle, and we had a big pre-race meal of pasta and meatballs and garlic bread and salad, and we had beer and some Gatorade to hydrate, and they also had these things called stuffed quahogs, which are these giant clams they hunt down there in the Cape. They're disgusting. And then we went to bed, and the next morning got up really early. My uncle and I got up really early. I had a cup of coffee and went down to the start of the race. The Falmouth Road Race is not a fun run at all, actually. The first mile is uphill, and then it transitions into a series of rolling uphills before flattening out into a 3-mile stretch of beachfront where the sun and the salt air conspire to suck all the moisture out of your body. There were something like 14,000 runners in this event, and they ran the gamut from Kenyans to people in lobster costumes. I was passed by several people in lobster costumes. Sometimes spectators would yell, "Come on, Mark, that guy's wearing a lobster costume." And I would feel bad for this Mark character until I remembered that I was wearing a bib with my cousin's name on it. And just for variety, the race ended with an uphill, but then there was the expo, and at the expo they gave us a bottle of water and a granola bar and some orange wedges and a free hot dog. And I found my uncle, who had finished way ahead of me, and then we found our families, and we decided to go back to my aunt and uncle's house for the post-race bash. And almost immediately upon leaving the expo grounds, I felt an ominous rumbling in my stomach. And it wasn't too bad, but I knew I was going to have to deal with it at some point. And if I had my choice, I'd rather not deal with it in a porta potty at a 14,000-person expo. The first problem was that my wife had to park about a mile from the finish, and by the time we got to the car, I was feeling a lot worse. The discomfort was coming in waves, and each wave was markedly stronger than the one before it. And the second problem is that she had parked in a cul-de-sac, where every available spot of asphalt had a car on it, and they were all trying to leave at once. I was in some trouble at this point. I started to sweat. My wife, hi honey, she did a great job staying calm, which was good because if she had panicked, I was going to panic, and that would be bad. I mean, we were in a Prius. Finally, I felt a wave of discomfort so intense that when it passed, I felt that my body was sending me a very clear message, and the message was, "We have done all we can." You have 90 seconds. And at this point, we were stopped in front of one of those classic Cape cottages with the shingles and the buoys and all that bullshit. And there was a family picnicking in the front lawn. And I was like, I have to ask them. And my wife was just, straight ahead. She was not. So I get out of the car and I walked up the lawn, and they looked at me and I said, "I'm really sorry to bother you, but a lot of traffic and a lot of Gatorade. Is there any way I could duck in and use your restroom?" And I could tell they were suspicious. But there was an old man in the lawn chair. I think it must have been his house, and he looked like a veteran. Like maybe he had seen some stuff in his life. And so he kind of nodded towards the door, and I guess it was one of his daughters, showed me in and pointed up to the top of the stairs where their lovely upstairs bathroom was, and I went up the stairs as fast as I could, and I closed the door and I locked it, and I'm going to spare you the details of what happened next. Suffice to say, it was not pretty. And when it was over, I looked for anything I could use to try to cover my tracks, like any kind of potpourri or a matchbook or some sort of aerosol, but there was nothing. There was just a copy of Vogue magazine on the counter, and I tried to use it like a fan to try to like move the air around, but it just made things worse. So I composed myself, and I washed up, and I opened the door and rushed down the stairs, rushed out the front door and waved, said, "Thank you so much." And I jumped in the car, and my wife looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Just get us out of here." But we were still stuck in traffic. And we had to wait there for 15 more minutes as members of that family went into the house and then came back out and just stared at me looking completely appalled. And so, you know, I think about that family sometimes, and I wonder if they gather every year for the Falmouth Road Race, and if they do they ever tell the story of the year that a mystery man jumped out of a car and just obliterated their lovely upstairs bathroom? And I hope they can laugh at that story. I know that when I think about it, I'm totally mortified. And for me, the only silver lining is that at least they think that that mystery man was my cousin Mark. Thank you.